This one is more relevant to the bridge method than the mortgage method, but when you title split, you have got to expedite your title registration at land registry. And the reason being, if you don't expedite that title registration, land registry are going to take about 18 months, maybe longer. And if you're doing this via bridge, we still buy on bridge. You can't go direct to mortgage on all of these. The costs are horrendous. You might be looking at 1% a month.
Hey UK property people, we'd love to have you join us at This Property Life Networking. It's a no-guru friendly community. Our network gets a private WhatsApp group for daily advice and deal sharing, monthly online networking with live market updates and in-person events every year. Hit the link in the description below, join today and start building real connections with active property investors. Welcome to This Property Life, the podcast where we share real stories and practical insights across the property world. I'm your host, Sarah Blaney, and today I'm chatting with James Lynch, who has been on a podcast before and shared some amazing insights. James is an expert in title splitting, but the lessons he's going to share with us today go far beyond that. So today, James is going to break down his top 10 tips for saving time and money during a title split. From doing due diligence early to working effectively with solicitors, surveyors, lenders, and all while on focusing on that title splitting. These insights really could apply to really any property transaction, helping you stay organised, avoid costly mistakes, and hopefully get those deals over the line a little bit faster. So whether you're just starting out, you've got a few projects under your belt, this conversation is going to be practical takeaways to make every deal from here on smooth and profitable. As if, hey James, as if. But that's the aim, isn't it?
It's definitely the target, isn't it? Yeah. Let's plan for a smooth process and then just accept the bumps as they come. Yeah.
So let's just kick off. What's top tip number one?
I think, start at the beginning. It's finding the right block. Primarily what I mean by that is title splitting for me is all about being able to find a property which you can increase the value of so easily with that title split. So to be able to do that, it's got to be the right block. So you've got to do your searches. You've got to use the PropTech, property filter, property engine, search land, all these tools, and find that block, and then make sure you do your own valuation first, because obviously we don't want to be spending money on a valuer when we already assess it ourselves and say this isn't going to work. Your tools, find the block and make sure that it is a block that's going to give you that uplift so that you can hopefully get all of your money out at the point of purchase and get that 100% funding.
So yeah, definitely top tip number one, and this does go beyond title splitting, is use the PropTech that is out there, which is getting better and better. And, going back 3-4 years, we just didn't have the level of information at our fingertips that we do now. And it is really powerful stuff, isn't it? Some of the filters that you can use. Find yourself some of these blocks, as you say.
There's no reason to go into a bad deal. There's enough good ones out there. You've just got to keep searching or, cheat a little and use the technology to help you do that.
And it helps you actually expand out the area that you know. You are based around Bristol, and you probably know that area pretty well. You now know where those blocks are that are freehold without the leasehold in place that you could then go and target. But we were talking offline a couple of weeks ago, and you were like, oh, I'm starting to look in, this area and that area, and you're expanding out, but from the safety of home because it's all online.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all very well knowing your city inside out, but if you spot an opportunity that, a couple of hours away, sometimes with these big blocks, it's just too good to miss. You want to move into that new city or that new town, but you're not going to know those values off the top of your head. So again, that's another bit where PropTech, property data I quite like for my valuations. Really easy tool to value a property and get some comparables. And then, just give yourself some confidence before taking any steps that involve spending your own money, like getting a valuer in or paying an application fee.
Every month on the second Saturday, we run an online networking session where you can meet other active investors face to face. And 3 times a year, we bring everyone together at live in-person events. Spaces are always limited, so if you want to be part of it, check out thispropertylife.co.uk/events and secure your spot today.
Perfect. So number one, PropTech. Number two,
off market. So there's obviously a variety of places you can be looking for these blocks. You can be looking on all of the portals. using the PropTech, as we've just said as well. But yeah, direct to vendor letters, I've got a little partnership going now with Searchland, and their direct to vendor system within Searchland is fantastic.
Yeah, we have to say it's a powerful piece of software, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's obviously some incredible tools out there. I think Searchland's probably one of the most comprehensive and also one of the most expensive, it has to be said. But yeah, what it can do is fantastic. And if you find one block through something like Searchland or writing direct vendor letters yourself, that's going to save you £20,000 of a sourcing fee, or obviously removes the competition versus, say, estate agents or buying in auction.
Excellent. Okay, so the sourcing top tip number 2, and trying to go off market for that, whether it's the old fashioned way or a combination of old fashioned and using the PropTech that's available to us. We're saving time and money even as we're speaking, James. I can feel it. Good. Number 3.
So number 3 is quite a crafty one, really, and this can be a huge saver. Stamp duty, in a legitimate way, not in an Angela Rayner way, obviously. So stamp duty, yeah. So in England, when you buy 6 dwellings, actually, in one go, then you qualify for commercial stamp duty. So as an example, on £1 million, residential stamp duty is now £93,750. Or at least it is on the 4th of November 2025. We'll see what happens in the budget. So 93,750 on £1 million. If you hit 6 dwellings, it's 39,500. So an absolutely enormous saving. So the difference can be obviously a block of 5 or a block of 6. They're both at £1 million. The one that's 6, it's just absolutely night and day how that deal's going to work. So in England, rule of 6, as it's called, to get you onto stamp duty, commercial stamp duty. The other bit then is mixed use. So if it's a mixed use property, and it could just be one shop with one flat above it, immediately that's on commercial stamp duty as well. So again, same huge saving. So that's one that we regularly use. On the Welsh side of the border, so again, you can still get onto commercial stamp duty in the same way. Also, for mixed use in Wales, the threshold for commercial stamp duty is 225,000. So, in some parts of Wales, you could be buying a shop and a flat above, or maybe a couple of flats above, and literally pay 0 stamp duty. And obviously, if you mix that with some of the 100% finance products out there, which are available for stamp duty, then you're only putting your legal fees in, basically, and maybe a valuation. So fantastic ways to save money. And in Wales, multiple dwelling relief still exists. So commercial stamp duty, mixed use, multiple dwelling relief in Wales. Fantastic ways of legitimately saving on your stamp duty by just buying the properties that give you lower stamp duty opportunities, basically.
Definitely. And as we said, that is correct at the time of recording. And what they throw at us at the end of November 2025 is, we'll find out. Okay, brilliant. So definitely some money saved there. Now, top tip number 4, what would that be?
Due diligence from a distance. So what I mean by that is, quite often with title splits, you might have a large area that you're willing to explore. It's not like when you say developing a HMO and you've got your target couple of streets, and obviously it doesn't take long for someone to be selling a 3-bed terrace house which you're going to turn into a 6-bed HMO. So with title splitting, it's more about finding the opportunity. So you might be covering a 2-hour radius perhaps of where you live, so you don't want to be wasting whole days driving back and forth. So time is money. So due diligence from your desk, obviously things like property data, Searchland, Nimbus, all these tools again to sort of dig into the property as much as possible, try and understand that it has got planning, that it's the correct use class is there, all that good stuff, so you're not wasting your time. But also, I tend to get on Street View, and I'll do a drive by on Street View, and look at things like the white meter boxes outside. If you're buying a block of 6 in one, perhaps old townhouse, if you've got 6 electric meter boxes outside which are visible on you, then that's a good sign that it has got individual utilities, and obviously that's a key indicator of being a good title split. So have a look on Street View for those. Have a look on Street View for the little water meter covers, which you can sometimes see on the pavement outside the property as well. And for some parts of the country, southwest included, you can actually go and look up on the electric company's website how many serial numbers of electric meters are registered to that address. So again, if it's 6 and you're buying a block of 6, then it's been split, or ideally 7, one for the landlord supply as well. So, sometimes the estate agents don't know the answers, but yeah, you can sort of save yourself a bit of time and money by, checking before you go and view.
Yeah, there is so much we can do from the safety of the office, isn't there, that you can just kind of get on and look. But I suppose we've also got to say, don't rely on that for everything. This is your pre-analysis. This is the due diligence beforehand, just to see, does it stack up? Nothing beats being boots on the ground.
Yeah, this is sort of making sure that the ones you do go and see are,
Worthwhile.
are viable, exactly, are worthwhile. But 100% agree. Getting out there, walking the streets, actually seeing as many properties as possible is the way to find the right one. And sometimes you'll see a block of 6 advertised or whatever it might be, but you don't know until you get there that there's a basement that could be converted into flat number 7, or there's a plot in the back garden that could be, a separate townhouse accessed from another lane, or, these sort of opportunities in the roof, airspace rights in some parts of the country, and obviously attic conversion. So yeah, always good to actually go and see if it's a better opportunity than you first realised.
Yeah, I think that's especially so, even just with things that are on the market. So anything that's advertised in Rightmove and Zoopla, etc., because they are so often, especially with your area, which is buying the freeholds and splitting out titles of individual units, they're so often misaligned online, aren't they? They say, I've bought 6 blocks of flats before that were described as 4 HMOs, and they weren't at all. They were 2-bed buy-to-lets, but they literally, the agents were so bad at doing their job that they just didn't describe it right online anyway. So, you do really have to look into that level of detail that you've said, go and look and see for the meter boxes, because you'll get a different story, and yeah, bringing all that information through from different sources.
And you're so right about the properties being blocks of flats being badly described. Every agent seems to have a slightly different way of actually putting these on Rightmove when it comes to, some of them I've seen a single flat referred to as a block of flats because it's in a block of flats, and then correspondingly I've seen a whole block of flats referred to as a 2-bed flat because it was 5 2-bed flats. So there's just actually finding them in the first place on Rightmove is an art in its own right, or just spending hours of your life getting there. But finding those ones that no one else can find because they've been so badly described is an extra, money-saving tip in its own right, because you've no competition if you're the only one that's found it.
Yeah, it's true. It's so true. Which was the case for us, I think, on a couple of our projects. Okay, so we're at the halfway mark. What is number 5 of your top 10?
Solicitors, not a classic area for money saving. I appreciate, but over the years with the different title splits we've done, we've had a variety of different solicitors at very different price points. The cost of the leases, so creating those leases on title splits, I think I've been quoted anything from perhaps sort of maybe £600-700 minimum, certainly £800 minimum per lease, but going through to like £2,500 a lease. And when you consider these are sort of templated for each individual law firm, there shouldn't be a cost for, especially when you're churning out 10 of them or 30 of them on one block. So yeah, that's getting the right solicitor that knows how to title split, because there are a lot out there that genuinely they don't understand the process. So getting the right solicitor, but one that's not charging you excessively for it, again, can save you tens of thousands of pounds in the process. So
How do we decipher who is our person and who isn't?
obviously, first stop, ask them, do you offer title splitting as one of your services? Because I think in most cases they will just say no, it's not, we don't have the experience, we don't understand the process. And surprisingly, that's quite a lot of solicitors out there won't do this for you. So then, who is more likely to? Well, standard conveyancing, those sort of firms probably aren't going to have someone within their team that can do this. Law firms that do a lot of commercial property, typically, their solicitors are a bit more used to the abnormal, shall we say, the creative deals, the structured finance, the sales that have vendor finance, exchange with delayed completion, all sort of good things. So if they're doing that sort of thing, they probably can cover title splits quite easily as well. But yeah, firms that actually have a reputation for doing title splits, those are the ones that I'm using every time. And then it's a case of finding the ones that aren't charging an arm and a leg for the process, basically, but are still.
Yeah, that's still giving you a quality product at the end. But I think you're right. I mean, I think, we've got a few commercial leases that we're writing up at the moment. And it's like, it feels to me like it's money for old rope sometimes, because they've got the template and it's like, I'll charge you this amount of money. And you're like, okay, so the heads terms are slightly different, but all you've done there is you've literally just changed the name on the front page. Oh my God, I literally could have done that.
And then, when you've got 10 leases in one block of flats, I mean, the differences are really minor then, aren't they? Flat 1, flat 2, flat, it's there's not a huge amount of, so getting the right price point is
Yeah, I think that's a great tip, to choose those solicitors that have got a good commercial background, because as you say, they are a little bit more nuanced in slightly more creative deal structuring, and that means that title splitting is probably on their service book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, we're on to number 6.
Plans. So by that, I'm talking about the leasehold plans that you need to get created to provide to the solicitor as part of them creating the leasehold documents, and obviously those go into land registry as well. So these have to be to a certain standard. We're not talking about the little cartoons that the estate agents provide on Rightmove. We're talking about something which probably has been created in AutoCAD or similar software, has a scale bar, a north arrow, a proper site plan, so on and so forth. There is a whole list on the land registry website that sort of explains what you need to provide in that plan. So going to an architect when you have no plans for this building can be quite an expensive process, right? Because you're expecting an architect to leave their nice warm office for start, drive to the location of the block, and then go and measure up all of those flats individually, and then come back to the office and obviously draw up the leasehold plans from the measurements they've taken. So that is quite a lot of work, and obviously architect is a highly skilled trade, and they do charge like it. So to try and reduce the costs, it doesn't have to be an architect. It could be an architect or technician, as long as they're, following the rules that are on the land registry website. So that's one tip. But beyond that, what I tend to do is I'll go onto the planning portal for whichever council the block of flats is in, look up the property on the planning portal, and more often than not, and I don't know whether I've just been lucky, but more often than not, I'll find plans, within the last 10 years. So they're likely to be on AutoCAD or whatever. And then I'm downloading those plans from the planning portal. Obviously, bottom right-hand corner, you've got the little title box. So I'll phone up the architect or email them, whatever's on there, and just say, look, I need some leasehold plans to be created. And, I've noticed that 6 years ago, you did some planning, and, I've seen that it looks like you've measured up the building already. Is that right? And if you're lucky, yeah, we did. We've still got the data. And then for them, there's no measure up. They've got the data. They're literally just doing a bit of a sort of copy and paste, effectively lifting that individual flat from the overall plans, putting that red line around it, and all the other bits and pieces, the north arrow and so on and so forth, following those land registry rules. But they can do that in a fraction of the time because they have to go around and measure up. So you can halve the cost, or sometimes even better, by trying that trick. And like I say, it's actually worked for us more often than not.
Good. I mean, that is it's a definite time save and a money save, and it's a win for the architects as well, isn't it? Because they're getting double pay on it. Not as much the second time, hopefully, but yeah, they're still recurring income. And I think that's a really good tip that is transferable to lots of different things, isn't it? So when people sort of say to me, "Oh, have you got an architect in this area?" and you're like, "Well, what's it for?" It's for an HMO conversion. Well, get on the planning portal, look for HMO conversions within whatever kilometres of that address, find out who the architects were, and if they got it passed through, and then ring them and find out what they're about, because they've already been doing it in that area. So it makes sense, doesn't it? So it's the same sort of concept.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right. So top 6 was we've got. Oh, this is testing my memory now, isn't it? And you've got it hopefully written in front of you. But we did PropTech, we've done due diligence, we've done sourcing, we've done solicitors,
yeah,
and we've done drawings
and stamp duty.
Stamp duty, that was a great one.
Yeah.
So we're on to number 7. What is 7 on your list?
So that is the right valuers. Okay. So there's 2 ways that we buy and title split our blocks. We used to always have to go onto Bridge first, because that was the only finance that was available to do title splits in the past. There's now also mortgage products out there, very limited number of mortgage products. So either way, whether it's Bridge and you go into the VAS panel, or it's direct to lender and you're relying on internal valuers, you are, of course, at the whim of what these valuers decide. So focusing perhaps on the Bridge side, because that's where you've got a bit more ability to choose. In the same way as with the solicitors, some do and some don't really understand the process and have that experience. It's the same with valuers. So some valuers will, and especially those with less experience, and we will have to start somewhere, I appreciate, but those with less experience, if you're buying a block for £1 million and you're trying to get a valuation of 1.35 million, some will just look at that and go, well, that's ridiculous. Market value is market value. They're paying £1 million, it's worth £1 million. And obviously that's an absolute non-starter. You're going to get nowhere, with that valuer, whereby what we're doing, of course, title split at point of purchase completion, we're creating individual saleable leasehold flat that an owner occupier could buy at the point of purchase, and that's what's pushing our values up. So you need the valuer to understand that. And, people might be thinking, well, surely they all do, don't they? And yeah, a lot of them do. But, I certainly have had clients come to me in the past where they've been stung by this process. And when we've dug into it and I've sort of helped them unpick the problems, it's come down to the fact that the valuer was just inexperienced or, hadn't really understood what was being asked of them. That's the other part of it. Sometimes it's not being made clear to them by the lender what it is they're supposed to be doing with their special assumption, as it's called, of title split into leasehold flats. So finding the right valuer, and also making sure that they're being correctly instructed by the lender. And sometimes I do get involved in that and sort of, give a bit of a nudge to make sure they're doing it right. But yeah, finding the right valuer and instructing the valuer correctly will save you effectively the cost of a wasted valuation. Make sure you get the right.
Valuers are they're a special breed, aren't they? And I think if you have the ability to choose from a panel, then talk to your broker and get their opinion as well. I know that whenever I see Connells on the panel, for example, I ask for a different one because I've just personally, and I know a lot of other people feel the same, never had particular success from that area. So yeah, sometimes we can choose, and that's where you're sort of saying like try and push for specific ones.
I wasn't going to use the C word, but seeing as you have, a little story. So we there was a block that we bought a couple of years ago at auction. So that was onto bridge first, partly because it was at auction and we needed the speed, and partly because there was a hole in the roof. So it did need a bit of work first. Anyway, when we came to move it from bridge onto term finance, and obviously at this point the roof is fixed and fully tenanted and making a lovely amount of money for what it was as well. In a busy West Wales town, with a definite thriving housing market, and the valuer came out from Connells and valued it at zero.
Yeah, I've had one of them. I've had that.
And when we inquired why was there a zero valuation on this, 4 1-beds, 1 2-bed, and an office, the answer was that there was no suitable demand in the area. So we have some quite close links with a housing charity in Pembrokeshire. Our letting agents are sort of the profit-making arm of a housing charity. So got in touch with them to say, I hear you guys have been doing fantastically well because you've solved the housing crisis in Pembrokeshire. There is no housing crisis anymore because Connells have just told us there's no demand for accommodation anymore, which baffled them. Apparently there's 4,500 people on the housing list, and I think it was 1,500 perhaps looking for temporary accommodation, urgent temporary accommodation. So nobody could quite work out where they got that data from, but we had to move away.
But they won't give the valuation feedback, will they?
No. Well, actually, on that one, it was a free val from the lender. So wasted money. Yeah, and our time. But...
Yeah, it's infuriating, isn't it? But yeah, so there's a couple of sub tips in there. One is don't use the word, and the other is choose them wisely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, let's swiftly move on from those guys. Number 8, what have you got for?
Yeah, so right lenders. So to some extent that does link with the valuer piece, because where we are in some cases with our title splits now, going direct to mortgage, and still getting that uplift on the title split that allows us to get 100% funding from the mortgage company. there's a very limited number of lenders that do that. There used to be none until I think probably 2 or 3 years ago. Then there was one. I think we're now up to about 3, and maybe more will come to the market as well. But yeah, if you try and do a 100% financed title split with the wrong lender, you're going to get nowhere. You're just going to waste your application fee and your valuation fee and so on and so forth. And likewise, having a broker, I suppose this is a right lender and right broker piece, actually, but having the right broker that will understand which lenders to put a given property with, because they've done it so many times that they know that even though this lender says they'll take this block of flats, the broker understands that 2 doors down there's a Chinese takeaway, and that's going to put the lender off because the broker's been through this so many times. They know the story. So yeah, right lender, right broker. Make sure that you are setting yourself up for success. Basically, there's no point trying to throw it through the wrong lender. So yeah, that's small saving in time and wasted application fees, basically, if you've got
I think you're right as well, that broker is really important. So someone who's been around the block enough, they have the relationships that they can talk straight to the business manager, the underwriter for those different lenders and say, theoretically, I've got this, something you touch, because they appreciate that transparent conversation as well, don't they? So you then get the best sort of advice.
A lot of good brokers, to be honest. We've been quite lucky. I know people have had, awful. We've generally had really good brokers. The broker we work with now, and happy to sort of recommend him if listeners want to contact me, is just head and shoulders above all the good ones again. So experienced, specifically in title splits and more, but certainly on title splits, incredible knowledge. So it just makes it so much easier, and saves you some wasted fees as well.
Okay, we're on to the last couple now. So let's hit the big and final.
Yeah, so number 10, this one is more relevant to the bridge method than the mortgage method. But when you title split, you have got to expedite your title registration at land registry. And the reason being, if you don't expedite that title registration, land registry are going to take about 18 months, maybe longer. And if you're doing this via bridge, and we still buy on bridge, you can't go direct to mortgage on all of these, the costs are horrendous. You might be looking at 1% a month. So you need to, obviously, if there's any works that are being carried out as part of the purchase, then clearly those need to be done as well. But in some cases, you're literally just doing the paperwork. Solicitor will be putting that in on the day of purchase completion. So then it's just down making sure that the land registry do it quicker. Solicitor to expedite the process with the land registry. And that'll reduce the time from, like I say, 18 months plus to service level agreements, 2 weeks. Now, there's often a bit of back and forth. Maybe the title plan isn't quite right, hasn't got the north arrow on it, or someone's, missed something. But you'll get it done in a few months, basically. They usually look for some sort of proof as to why you need this done. And effectively, that proof in this case is the difference in the cost. So you show them, look, there's my bridge offer. I'm paying 12% a year. And here's my mortgage offer. They're offering me 5.5% or whatever it might be. And that's enough for them to say, fair enough, that's a huge cost. We'll put you to the front of the queue and you get off your 1% a month onto your normal term finance. And that's a huge cost saving again, that one.
Yeah, since COVID, land registry have just been, struggling, aren't they?
Absolutely. And for first registrations, which effectively are, a leasehold is, it just seems to take forever. I guess they've just got a lot to catch up on.
Apparently so. A bit like planning department as well.
Yes.
I'm not going to rage. I wouldn't rage today, so.
Fortunately, with title splitting, that's one thing that we largely don't have to touch. Occasional cert of lawful use or something like that.
Generally it's done, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Top 10 of time and money saved is literally transferable to all types of property transactions, but we've had a bit of a bias on the title splitting. And I think anyone that looks at all of those and actually does a little bit of research into all of them will make life easier, won't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I think if you add all of those up, on £1 million purchase, it's got to be about £70,000-80,000 worth of savings, especially with the stamp duty bit. So yeah, definitely worth listen back, make some notes. Yeah, see what you can save.
And James, obviously, your niche is very much that title splitting part of things. If anyone is interested in title splitting, how could they get hold of you to find out a little bit more?
My little business is called The Title Split Consultant. If you put hashtag The Title Split Consultant into Google, you should find a load of links. LinkedIn is my main social media. You also find me on Instagram, Facebook. Search on hashtag The Title Split Consultant. You should find me easily enough.
Amazing. Thanks so much for joining us today and giving us some really good practical tips to make life a little bit easier. I'm hoping that we will continue our podcast episodes and we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, hope so. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, James.